after January, based on the efforts that we are engaged in, we should see the numbers tapering off. And of course, March onwards should become, place the potential threat under greater control.
We encourage you to join in the Ministry of Health's efforts. Search for and destroy mosquito breeding sites around your homes. Also ensure that you wear protective clothing and use insect repellent with DEET. Your Jamaica magazine continues with more tips to prevent the spread of dengue.
If you no want pop down and fenke, you feel burn mosquito and run with dengue. So no make water cycle in open container. For them to read up under the danger. Usher them out, run them away. Slap them with the zapper and down them with spray. Use mosquito net and mosquito screen. Protect your household, now make them come in. If you no want pop down and fenke, if you burn mosquito and run with dengue. If pain lick your head and your joints and your eye, and you want fever meat and your temperature high, it could be dengue, don't hesitate. See a doctor, don't self-medicate. For some painkiller can make you bleed and you will try to recover and no succeed. We no want pop down and fenke. We fi burn mosquito and run with dengue.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, January 28. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government will be intensifying its policy of full asset utilization in the coming months. He says all state-held assets will be reviewed and made available to private business and citizens through a transparent and competitive process.
We will be doing it through a process of divestment, through public-private partnerships, through corporatization, and we will be also placing many of these assets on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, so that you who are gathered here can also own part of these companies and claim the prosperity.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at Sunday's opening of the S Hotel on the Montego Bay Hip Strip. A former National Insurance Fund property, the revamped hotel adds 120 rooms to the island's tourism sector. The Prime Minister also used the hotel's opening to reiterate government's intent to deepen the connectivity between tourism and the rest of the economy. According to Mr. Holness, tourism must be inclusive and beneficial to all Jamaicans.
The industry must take an instrumental approach to ensuring that the benefits are shared. Buy more Jamaican, employ more Jamaican entertainers, put them in your package, make people see them, because that is what is going to create the value for your product.
The Ministry of Finance has signed a $15 million loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, to implement the Skills Development for Global Services project. The project will be executed by JAMPRO in tandem with the Heart Trust NTA on the two components: skills development and strengthen institutional capacity. It aims to upgrade the skills of industry workers and prepare them for opportunities in more advanced areas of information technology, such as business process outsourcing, information technology outsourcing, and knowledge process outsourcing. At the ceremony on Thursday, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said further build-out of Jamaica's global services sector over the next 5 years would generate significant job and skills training opportunities for women and youth in particular.
It is expected that by next year we'll have a total of 40,000 persons employed in the global services sector, and within a short period thereafter, another 2 or so years, that number should increase to 50,000.
We are going to be building the skills Jamaica will need to achieve competitiveness for our human talent in the 21st century, and this is critical.
Meanwhile, the IDB's Chief of Operations says the improvement of infrastructure to support training and the upgrading of skills will revolutionize the way Jamaica does business.
This offers the potential to boost economic growth through increased exports from higher value added, more digitalized activities in the manufacturing and services sectors, and it also is a great opportunity for Jamaica.
Other key stakeholders of the project include the Global Skills Service Unit, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, and the Business Process Outsourcing Industry of Jamaica. Small and medium tourism enterprises, SMTEs, in the Caribbean will benefit from $500,000 to implement a disaster resilience project. The allocation is being provided through the Organization of American States. The project will be launched on January 29 at the second Global Conference on Jobs and Inclusive Growth in Montego Bay. The two-year project aims to reduce the impact of disruptions to tourism enterprises in the region, which are caused by disasters. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the project will help to identify and address the macro and micro level challenges that affect business continuity during and after catastrophic events.
Tourism is being seen as a preferred industry for recovery from mega disruptions. So when hurricanes happen and other types of global disruptions, it is tourism that move quickly and bring back economic activity.
Minister Bartlett was speaking at the ministry's press briefing recently. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang is encouraging residents of Norwood in St. James to get land titles for their properties. The plea comes after the Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ, says there are over 1,200 land titles to be issued to members of the community.
It suits everybody to work out with Mr. Howell how you can get your titles, pay for it, and your children to have a title if you don't have it, or you pass it on to your children, whichever way you want to register it. But it's a critical part of what you have. We have been able to keep property tax at a reasonable rate, so it suits you to get your title. Everybody knows land paper is a very important part of your property assets.
HAJ's Managing Director Gary Howell adds that the agency has put systems in place to assist residents who do not have all the money at once to pay for their land titles.
What we are here to ask of you, residents, is just to partner with us to help us to get you where you ought to be, get your names on the titles, to get your everything formalized, that nobody can say you're a squatter, you are this. Because yes, you have your house there and you live here for many years, but unless you have that piece of paper to show that you are the owner, then persons will always take liberty with you.
Mr. Howell told the residents of Norwood that the HAJ had partnered with the National Housing Trust to assist contributors in accessing mortgage benefits. Several icons in the local music industry will be honored during Reggae Month 2019 for their contribution to reggae music over the past 50 years. They will be recognized at a Reggae Gold Awards. The news was revealed by Culture and Entertainment Minister Olivia Grange during the recent launch of Reggae Month 2019.
We will be honoring 50 icons, 50 persons, individuals, groups, or whatever, who have contributed to the development of the music over the years and to take it to the world.
Several activities are scheduled for February, including a street party on Orange Street. Minister Grange has also announced that UNESCO's senior official with responsibility for culture, Ernesto Ramirez, will be her special guest for Reggae Month. His visit comes months after reggae music was inscribed to the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage for humanity in Mauritius. And finally, operators of public passenger vehicles, PPVs, are being encouraged to make use of the early start for motor vehicle examination, which started on Friday. The Transport Authority says this is in order to meet the road license renewal deadline of March 31. The authority says licensees are not required to pay the motor vehicle examination fees upfront when doing the early examination, but instead pay upon submission of their applications for road license renewal. The Transport Authority is further reminding the owners of PPVs that road licenses become invalid as of April 1, 2019 if the renewal process is not completed by Friday, March 29. A toll-free line 1-888-991-5687 or customer care 876-618-0959 is in place to facilitate queries. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets, and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers, and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
As we look ahead to the start of the 2019 Reggae Month activities in a few short days, let's explore the genesis of this great art form. If reggae can ever be edged to a set place, then 13 Brentford Road is its home. It was here at Studio One in 1968 that Rocksteady briefly went back 20 years, married the folk rhythms of Mento, and gave birth to reggae.
Up to 8, 6, then reggae.
The guitar led the reggae music orchestra, and the bass maintained the melodic patterns in the background. It is interesting to note that even though the fusion would change the course of local music history forever, it was to be one of its most celebrated strokes of luck.
No, I didn't really want to give out this piece of information, but since we're at it, I won't be mean. Clement Dad brought a piece of machinery to the studio for about a year. It was sitting there, and no one knew exactly what to do with it. And so they hooked it up one day and decided to implement it. And they discovered it was a tape delay. And so they hooked it into the machine and they started doing it into the recording. So when they put the guitar sound through the tape delay, it comes back saying that the rest of studios hearing this recording out there thought it was the guitar making that and just copied that, and that was the birth of reggae music.
Jackie Mitu invited Larry Marshall to try out on the new sound. The experiment yielded Nanny Goat and Baby Tell Me Why. But it was Toots and the Maytals, Do the Reggae, that christened the music form forever. Reggae would deliver dance crowds from the sluggish rocksteady beat. The people needed a change in pace. Reggae upped the tempo. Reggae turned up the heat on some of the social and economic challenges that the people were facing. It premiered as the voice of the people. Reggae was a potent messenger for the Rastafari philosophy, which single-handedly cemented the music form as a cornerstone of Jamaican culture. Bob Marley was one of them who took to the music and the teachings. Marley had been around from the ska era. In 1961, he and a couple of his brethren, Peter Tosh and Bunny Livingston, formed the Rude Boys, which later became known as the Wailers. The teachings were often put to music in either Sir Coxson's Studio One or Duke Reid's Treasure Isle recording studios. The recording sessions overflowed with free-spiritedness and an abundance of talent. Hits were made by ear.
Studio One happens to be the station.
Studio One is widely regarded as the mecca of reggae music.
Studio One is called the University of Reggae Music. And as an artist, if you didn't work your way through that university, you would not be a complete artist.
This is the Motown of the Caribbean. Everything started right here, so right now you have to give a lot of respect to Mr. Dodd because he had a very good ear for music.
The local music industry learned the rudiments of music distribution as early as the 1940s, when English fans showed a willingness to buy its R&B covers. When American rhythm and blues were hard to come by, Sound system owners Duke Reid and Sir Coxsone Dodd got artists like Stanley Motto to make their own. With the advent of a global village through the economic, social and political phenomenon called globalization, it is now beyond one's mental facets, where this world-shaking cultural mystique known to humanity as simply reggae will take Jamaica, land we love. Whithersoever it goes, we go.
We can no longer turn a blind eye to our children. Each of us have the duty to protect them. As we continue to strengthen our protection campaign, we ask that you try positive discipline. Talk not once, twice, 3 times, 7 times even. In talking to your child, you make them comfortable to tell you about what is affecting them. Tell our children the truth and tell them what is wrong and why. We remind our parents, if you are having difficulties with your child, we are here for you, to support you, along with the many other agencies that are set up for this purpose. Additionally, we remind parents that if you see another parent in need of help or sound advice, reach out and provide support. Every child is our child.
Reggae is a viable global business that rakes in millions of US dollars annually for the country. If you're interested in getting in on this booming industry, watch this next feature.
There's a quote from recording artist Erykah Badu, who once said, "The music business is motivated by money. Music is motivated by energy and feelings." What say you?
The business of music now is to take all of that and turn it into making money, you know, as blatant as that.
This is Career Talk. I'm Kerry. Today we're discussing music management and more. Welcome.
They get the fame, top the charts, collect the awards, are recorded in the annals of history for speaking to the multidimensional spectrum of human emotions and experiences through the power of music. But the difference between them and the far greater number of musical unknowns is very often in the management.
The Eptones, Ken Booth, Delroy Wilson, Alton Ellis, I mean, you name them, they came through my hands at some stage or another. I took Dennis to England in '74, the first time he toured. He was just about 17.
Junior Lincoln is one of a large and growing group of people who have merged a love for the melodic creation called music with a keen understanding of human behavior and a sharp business mind to make a living.
Some of the best artists in the world, we don't know anything about. You can be the greatest artist in the world, and if people don't hear you, how are they going to know? And how are you going to be heard? It takes management. Music management is kind of complex.
But it comes down to one thing: overseeing the business affairs of musicians.
There's 2 sorts of management of an artist. I mean, the personal manager will look at how they invest their money, how they do all of that sort of thing. The other side now, which is the professional manager of the artist's career.
If you are looking to join this career field, be prepared to handle just about every aspect of an artist's career.
It is not something that you can go to school and learn. You know, it's something you learn over a period of time with experience.
But school can't hurt. In fact, there are schools here in Jamaica and abroad offering degree programs in music business or a straightforward business field that you can merge with your knowledge of the industry. Whether you begin with formal training or not, getting started in this career is tough. One route is to cultivate a relationship with an up-and-coming artist you admire and begin to manage that person, create an effective street team, and help the artist grow. Then there's another option.
You find a lot of big managers today, especially overseas, started with a company, and they would have maybe 2 or 3 artists under their portfolio. So you learn your craft there. But you have this big company behind you that you can rock back at.
Whatever in you use, remember this is not a job that will keep you confined to a desk or any other static location. You go where the business or the artist goes. And this is not a 9-to-5 gig.
No, it's the opposite of a 9-to-5 job because you're on the job all the time.
And it's a job that is in demand, a growth field as some would call it.
What you have to keep in touch with is the change. The changes that has come about in the business and continually doing so.
There are some other intangibles to consider.
Temperament is important. It's cool when you have to be cool. Most of the time you have to be cool, but you have to be firm when you have to be firm. It takes man management.
It means navigating the many moods of artists, plus all the people around them.
I think we all know that people within the arts are a bit sometimes not so easy to deal with, for obvious reasons. Very moody, can be very strong in their thoughts and vision and whatever else. There's got to be trust. There's got to be confidence, a whole lot of confidence in the management opinion and direction of that artist.
The music manager must also understand how to navigate the transition from an unknown artist to someone with a following and further a national or international career.
Once you get there, a very important part is to stay there. And management is very crucial to that because it's not just music anymore. It's music plus.
Girl is hard in my behavior, say I'm a silver.
When will I see you again? When I fight, I'll call you this
Have you ever wondered how scientists predict climate change-related activities? Well, wonder no more.
Rainfall, drought, temperature levels, and wind speed are all variables in the assessment of climate change. We've been hearing about climate change for quite some time, but what does it really mean? Well, those who should know say it refers to a distinct change in weather patterns over an extended period of time, usually lasting decades or longer. These days, when most people speak of climate change, they're talking about global warming. But climate change is a much broader term that takes into account more than surface temperature increases. Either way, it's a complex science that calls for sophisticated technologies to research, predict, and map a corrective plan where one is needed.
We do 2 things. So we look at present-day climate. And what we do is we take observations that have been collected by meteorological services across the region. So we look at rainfall, max temperature, minimum temperature. And we do our statistics on them to see how climate has changed already. What we also do is we look at future climate and we run climate change models. And these are just computer models.
To better understand the complex climate system, computer programs have been developed into models that highlight the interactions of climate components. These general circulation models have been used extensively to understand climate shifts, such as this hurricane-like vortices. This model is a projection of the frequency and intensity of a hurricane in the year 2097 between July and August. It will also estimate how hurricanes are projected to change. What this means is, if average weather patterns over an extended period are significantly altered, then it indicates a change in climate change. Other models look at lightning pattern and simulators to help farmers increase their yields while mitigating against excess rain and drought periods.
A number of technologies are used. If we're looking at present-day climate, for example, and the changes that have already occurred, we rely heavily on data from our meteorological centers. So we're looking at technologies behind data collection and storage and dissemination. We also make use of satellite data. It helps us with our observations. When we run these models, we compare them to what we have in our observations to see how well the models are capturing observations. So if it is doing a pretty good job, then we have some confidence that what the model is projecting in the future will be accurate. Another thing we do with our model output is we compare it with other models to see whether there's consistency in the results. Another thing we do is to see whether the output we're seeing corresponds to the kind of signs we're expecting from climate change.
A lot of our activities revolve around climate. We know, for example, that at certain times of the year we can expect more rainfall, so we might organize our crop production cycle to align with this flush period.
We are now looking on agriculture and looking on, well, what happens in a drier, warmer climate, how will it affect yields? And we're looking on the study of how that happens. We look on other diseases, we look on the disaster risk reduction in terms of hurricanes, the number of hurricanes, the intensity of hurricanes, what does that mean for shoreline protection?
So why are we going to all this trouble? Because climate change is as much a reality for us as any other country. A look at climatic conditions over the last part of the 20th century revealed some interesting things, like an increase in the frequency of hot days and nights, a decrease in the frequency of cold days and nights, a decrease in the difference between maximum and minimum temperatures, a decline in the maximum number of consecutive dry days, and a slight drying trend in summer rainfall.
Some studies have indicated that our hurricanes would have stronger winds and more rainfall associated with it. Other studies have shown that global sea level will continue to rise, and by extension we expect that for the Caribbean.
This kind of information is useful to the process of governance. The data, if accurate, will help government identify potential and current problems and plan appropriate responses. The climate is ever changing, and that's all good, except when that change brings with it serious danger to life and health. So hats off to those who are doing all they can to map this ever-evolving cycle and the technologies they use to unravel the mysteries of climate change.
And that's our show. Please remember to watch Jamaica Magazine for credible, up-to-date information on dengue and other issues coming out of our beloved island. You may send us an email, jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm, visit our website, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a mobile app that's available in your phone's app store. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.